Hey everyone, and welcome back to our podcast where we talk about success, motivation, and inspiration. I'm your host Fahad Siddiqui, along with our co host Ahad Ahmed. This week we are joined by Dr. Bruno Herrera, who is a board certified periodontist and a clinician scientist. Dr. Herrera is originally from Brazil and has completed his training both in Brazil and the United States. In this episode, we talk about the value of mentorship, importance of setting realistic goals, and why success can simply mean happiness. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast. If you're new here, my name is Fahad Siddiqui, and along with me is Ahad Ahmed. We are the two brown dentists, and we are doing this podcast to kind of explore success, motivation, and inspiration. And with us today is Dr. Bruno Herrera, who is a board certified periodontist, and he has had an extensive journey of academia, of working in the clinical field and the research field, and has kind of lived in two countries extensively and have a plethora of experience, which we want to talk about today. So, welcome to our podcast, Dr. Herrera. Thank you for being here. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, especially right now talking to you guys. First of all, uh, thanks to Dr. Siddiqui and Dr. Ahad to having me here. This great podcast that I've been listening to like since you started.
So, if you have been listening to our podcast, you kind of know what we talk about, right?
Yeah.
So, that's something we want to talk to you about as well. So, the first thing I want to discuss with you is that how do you see success? What does it mean to you?
It's a complicated question because you know it can mean so many things. For me, it's just happiness. For me, it doesn't mean like a position or a status or anything else. It's just happiness. I think if you are happy of what you're doing, I think you achieved success. So I think this is what I think about it.
Great. So, I know it's a very complex topic, but when you were young, what was your idea of success? And when you were growing up, did it change for you? And
Mhm.
what factors made you realize that happiness is actually success?
So at that time when I was young, success for me was to be admired by my parents, for example, by my family, and then it became like be admired by my mentors as well.
Right.
So once you grow in your career and you start to achieve more like meaningful things, I think success is to inspire students or young professionals. Actually, I'm going to tell you something. So I need to tell that I went to dental school because of a big failure in my life. So
Mhm.
since I was young, when I was born, I always wanted to be a pilot, airplane pilot, because my dad was an airplane pilot.
Wow.
So when I turned like 18 years old, my dad tried to actually convince me to change my mind because the company that he was working with wasn't doing well. So my dad said, go to a university, do something, and in 5 years from now, if you want to become a pilot, I help you out. So what happened is that, okay, so what I'm gonna do? So at that time, I had a dental school very close to my home. So I said, I can go to dental school because if I quit, my parents wouldn't be mad at me because, it's close to my home. I didn't have to move to another city. And then since I started dental school, I loved it.
Right.
Nice.
And good that you started loving it because, if you went into this field and you didn't love it, especially if you were passionate about something else, so
Mm-hmm.
you would be regretting it, right? So
Yes.
did you, when you went there, when did you realize that you have started loving dentistry?
Yeah. So I probably in the first year of dental school because,
Mhm.
I did pharmacology, PhD in pharmacology because I love basic science as well. And most people, they don't like the first and second years because you have a lot of basic sciences. And, I started to love dentistry since like the first day. And I said, and people said, if you like the dentistry on the first year, you're going to love when you go to the clinic. And I really loved it. So, and then I realized that I didn't want to be a pilot. I wanted to travel. This is because, I saw my dad, he was always traveling. And, I said, I want to be like him. But then with dentistry, I did the same thing. Like I traveled a lot, like because of my research, because of my decisions. So I was able to fulfill that dream doing dentistry.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. When I'm thinking about what you were saying, like you ended up loving something and kind of getting your what you wanted, and you realized that that you wanted to travel, not be a pilot. And what were your, let me rephrase it, what were your aspirations at that time? What made you go through this long journey? Because your journey is not, it's not very common.
I'm very blessed because I had so many great mentors in my life, and they always pushed me to go beyond. And for example, when I was finishing dental school, I met Marcelo Muscará. He was a researcher at University of São Paulo in Brazil. And he wanted to research periodontal disease. So then I talked to him, and he offered me a position in his lab to start master's degree. And I said, why not? Because I'm very curious about it. And the research was an option at that time. So I wrote a research grant, and then I was granted, was funded, and then I was able to focus like 100% of my time in research for like 6 years at that time until I finished my PhD. And, it's good to have people that pushes you and can serve also as a role model for you. At that time it was Dr. Muscará. And then when I went to Boston University, I met Dr. Van Dyke. And, I'm very blessed to have these people in my life. It's interesting because when I had 30 years old, I finished my PhD. And I said, now I'm ready to go out there, make some money, teach in a good university. And then I did it. So I moved to another university. I started to do like a postdoc and teach as well. And I realized I wasn't happy. So when we go back, when I said in the beginning about what success means for me, to be happy. So then I said, I need to do something about that. And I went to a meeting in Barcelona, and then I talked to Dr. Van Dyke. And at that time he was moving to Forsyth. And he said, Bruno, I'm moving to Forsyth. Do you want to come with me? We have a position there. You can do postdoc with me. So then I said, I have a great opportunity. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to move back to Boston. So then at that time, I decided to move to United States for good.
So, my question to you is that when did you choose that perio is the field for you? Was it in the dental school, or was it when your professor asked you to work for him?
No, it was in dental school.
It was in dental school because you were so attached to the basic sciences.
Yeah.
So it made sense for you to go to perio.
Yeah, I did a PhD in pharmacology. My thesis was about periodontal disease and systemic diseases. Even that, when I started to do my master's degree, I started to research perio. And I decided to do perio when I started perio in the clinic during my dental school. Wow. So at that time, I was sure that I wanted to do that. And because, I wanted to do research as well. And we know periodontal research is very strong. So, I would have like a lot of opportunities to do that.
No, I think that was very smart of you, because a lot of people I know, they take their time to understand that what field that they want to get into.
So clearly you're very passionate about what you do, because you have done your perio specialty in Brazil and then here. One of the things, Bruno, you mentioned about mentorship, right? And the role the mentors play in shaping your future and pushing you.
Mhm.
And, you teach right now as well. And how have you incorporated that, what you got from your mentors? How do you transfer that into your students?
It's a good question because I have once when I started to do periodontology residency here in the United States at UNC, I had two great mentors there too, Dr. Ricardo Telles and Dr. Fenbacher. And Dr. Ricardo Telles became, one of my best friends. And every time I encounter myself like in a situation that I have to make a decision and inspire someone, I always think what Ricardo Telles would do.
Mm-hmm.
And and I I get that answer like just thinking about him. And I remember different situations what he did in the past. I remember his positions and his decisions and everything, and I try to mimic that. Not only
Mm-hmm.
him, but all the great mentors that I've had in the past. And when I look at the students as well, when I talk to them, I try to understand that each one of them um, has their own time. So, sometimes the students are not ready to move forward with a lot of information. Sometimes they need time. And the thing is, you have to be there for them when they need. And sometimes it's a different time that you think. And you always have to be there for them and talk to them in a way that is not doesn't force them to understand you, and try to, talk to them and be nice with them and, give examples, because I think the best way to teach someone is to give good examples.
Have you ever
Right.
had any bad experience with your mentors, and how did you accept that challenge? If you
As I said in the beginning, I'm very blessed to have these people in my life. I never have had a big dispute or big fight with them. Sometimes we had some disagreement as well, of course,
Mhm.
but always talk to them and try to see their point. And if you understand that they are there to teach you and to guide you, and they're trying to do in the best way they can, it's easy to talk to them and solve the question.
So, with someone like you who has worked with, many mentors, right, and
Mhm.
have had good relationships with mentors, what advice do you give the students to build a strong relationship with their mentors?
First of all, they need to understand that we are there to guide them, to teach them, and to help them in the best way we can. Just talk to your mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and understand that they can help you. They can help you. One example that I have for when I finished my PhD, I talked to my mentor, Dr. Muscara, about like what we're gonna do next. And he said, I know what I'm gonna do next. You're not gonna work for me anymore. You're gonna have to find another lab or something else to do. And I was really upset with him because he said, you're kicking me out. We had a great relationship. We published a lot of papers, and he's kicking me out. He said, it's a better thing for you to move to another lab to get more experience and to start your own relationship than staying here with me. You stay here for 5 years. So everything that you need to learn from this lab, you already learned. So now it's time for you to move forward. And that was it was amazing because I said he was thinking about me, not about him,
Right.
because it would be easy for him just to keep me there and keep me working for him. And
Yeah,
instead of that, he said, you have to look for your own path. So I always remember that.
and that's true. I mean, you've been blessed with great names and great professors in your life who have guided you. And did you ever have that feeling that when you meet your professors and you pictured yourself being in their position, was that your motivation that you wanted to be them or be like them?
Uh, to be like them, yes. I don't know about to be in their position because I don't know if I would be happy in like to be a chair in the department. You know, I don't know. I don't know. But, you know, I just want to be happy. And this is what guides me for everything. This is what guided me to move to United States. This is what guided me to leave research and go back to clinic. And this is what is guiding me right now to teach in a dental school. And, you know, I'm very happy of what I do. And if I like in the future, I change my mind, I'm going to look for something else. This is what I've been doing for my whole life.
So, again, I want to ask you, what does happiness mean to you right now?
Happiness?
Yeah.
Okay. Happiness is to, first of all, wake up every morning and go to work without complaining and being excited to see my students. I think about, you know, the best thing about my job is that I have to talk to so many people and so many great students. This is the meaning of my work right now. So every day I wake up, I said, you know, I'm going to go to the clinic and let's see how many cases we have and provide the best care for my patients and try to teach my students, guide my students, and have a great relationship with my fellow faculties as well. And
Right.
this is what happiness means to me right now.
So you talked about the good qualities of a mentor and what a mentor should be like, but can you tell us, in your opinion, what a mentor shouldn't be like?
Okay. Uh, I never worked with a bad mentor, but I met a lot of bad mentors. And they're selfish. Some of them, they only like, you know, think about their research and they think about their career. And, you know, and I don't understand. Sometimes they do very well and being selfish. And, you know, I never understood that. And this is, for me, is a bad mentor, just a person that, you know, think about themselves before anyone else. And I met a lot of people like this, believe me, but I never, yeah, yeah,
We all kind of know those sorts of
yeah,
mentors, and
yes.
I think that's one of the things that I learned, and I always, when I teach the students, I feel that, you know, I want to be everything that I wanted my mentor to be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to be there, as you said, for them, or to understand, go to their level and understand their problems. If you don't understand the problems of the students, then you cannot actually deliver good teaching as well. One more thing, again, I want to ask you is about motivation. You know, in your journey, there would have been so many challenges. You know, there would have been setbacks, and there would have been places where you would have thought, what the hell am I doing? You know, why am I doing this for so long? Or what kept you motivated? And
Yeah, sure. You know, before we have to understand that life is not linear, right? I had a lot of ups and downs in my life. Going back to the previous question, what is happiness? Happiness for me is not the end point. You know, happiness for me is like doing the process to get there. If you want to reach any point and you're not happy doing that, you have to rethink your life. You know? And this is what I think, going back, happiness. And also, I want to comment about mentors. I think I had great mentors just because they listened to me. And when I talk to a student, to my students, I try to listen to them and see what they need. You know, if you deliver something that they don't need and you think they need, you're going to have a problem. So sometimes you have to just sit down and say, you know, what do you want from me, and listen to them and try to to motivate them with this conversation. I had a lot of ups and downs, and, you know, during the process, I have all the anxiety of any student, because, you know, you have to finish your PhD, you have to publish your paper, you have to see so many patients to finish your specialty and every specialization and everything. So I always try to think about what are the good things about my life. it's okay to fail. It's okay. It's cliche to say that, but you have to learn from your failures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to fail, but you have to think that okay, I failed because I tried. You know,
Right.
if you don't try anything, you're never gonna fail. You're never gonna fail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And you have to, even though sometimes you think that it's gonna be hard to do something, and if you don't try, you wouldn't know. You won't know.
Exactly.
Okay. And I always have this problems during like my research and everything. And if you work on research, you have more bad days than good days. You know, you have to do several experiments to get one good result.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with frustration every day.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn a lot from there. You learn a lot from that. And as I said, I was blessed that I have great mentors. And when you know you have so many good people on your back, life becomes easier. You know,
Yeah.
and every problem you have to share with your mentors, with your colleagues and everything. Don't keep to yourself. You know, sometimes you're not seeing something that they might see and help you to get through this. When I feel bad about myself, when I have any challenge, I always try to talk to a lot of people and see how they can help me. You know, and this is what I think.
And Dr. Herrera, did you ever come to a point where you were so depressed or you just wanted to quit or just thought about quitting the
Yes.
PhD or the master's process or postdoc?
Yes, several times.
And how did you overcome that feeling? Because it's a very intense fear and feeling that someone is so tired of doing that thing. So
It's I think the best way to when you think about quitting is to surround yourself with good people, because they always gonna remind you of all good things you have done. And you know, like, keep going. You know, if you, for example, in my case right now, sometimes I feel frustrated when I go home because I had like a bad experience with a student, because I had a bad experience with another faculty. But when I think about the majority of people that I work with, you know, I find myself motivated again. So every time you fail or you want to quit or you think bad about yourself, just trying to think about the good things you have.
a positive attitude is very important. And I think that's what you had because you looked around the good things and you just got the best out of it.
Yeah, and especially right now with a lot of social media, right? You think that everybody has a perfect life.
Yeah.
You know, because they only post good things.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you realize that is not the case for everybody, you know, you have ups and downs. Everybody has it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand that, because if you think life is perfect, then you are in trouble.
Yeah, everybody is a Kardashian on Insta, right?
Oh, yes.
So, I was wondering that, you know, after going through so many education programs, there's one thing that is always related to being a student, and that is the uncertainty, especially if you're doing a PhD or research. You don't know when you're going to finish your thesis or when your experiments are going to be fine. How did you deal with it? And have you become better with dealing with uncertainty over time?
Oh, yes. For example, when I quit research to go to go back to clinic, I had a funding from U.S. Army. I had a good position as research associate at U.S. Army. I was working with Dr. Van Dyke at Foresight. Everything was perfect. And I said, you know, everything's perfect, but there's something wrong. Then I realized that I didn't want to do only research. I missed clinic a lot. So I said, you know, let me change my life. So, and every time, like since I finished dental school, I never had like big plans for me. Because, you know, I know life changes every time. And when something wrong happens, don't be harsh on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make like big plans, I know what I want to do in 10 years from now, 20 years from now. If that doesn't happen, you're gonna feel bad about yourself. And for me, this is the way I do my stuff. I always think, if I'm happy, if I'm not happy, I change my life completely. This is what I've been doing like since I finished dental school. And life is taking risks. You have to take risks. And when you take risks, you're more exposed to failures, to bad things, and also you're more exposed to great things as well. You have no idea how many people I've met, like during my whole life, how many great people I met during this process.
And I think one of the good things you said is that when you go out, you try things and you fail, and then you keep going. But more importantly, expectations from your own self. Like
Yeah,
if you expect how you perceive your own self is that you're going to be a billionaire in like 1 year. So keep like you can be, but have realistic expectations because then the burden is not on you.
yeah,
Life, as you said, is not linear. There's so many variables that affects our everyday life, and especially even these days,
yeah.
everything is so uncertain. So that's something I think that's a great message for anyone to deal with uncertainty.
So, Dr. Herrera, there's one thing that I've been wondering. So, how do you set your goal and plan to achieve it? What is the thought process behind it?
Uh, First of all, I'm a big procrastinator. I always do basically almost everything in the last minute.
Okay.
So yeah, but I know I only like I set goals that I know I can reach, and this is what I do. I don't When I started PhD, my plan wasn't to like finish PhD. It was first of all I have to understand research, and then I have to get a project for me, and then set small goals, and then you're gonna get there. So eventually, if your plan is to finish PhD, if you set those small goals, you get there. So when I start something, I don't think about 5 years, 10 years from after that.
That's very smart
But
because you're thinking one step at a time.
yeah, and you don't get
Accomplishing.
a lot of frustration as well doing that.
Yeah.
Because
And you feel more accomplished that you finished a small task and now you can move on to the other one.
because if you set a goal too far away and too high,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to feel that you're not gonna get there. It's easy to feel that. If you're starting a PhD and you think, oh, my goal is to finish my PhD with a big paper published, and start to see ups and downs during the process, you become frustrated, and sometimes you want to quit or something. So I always try to go step by step.
So my next question was, basically you have answered your next question as well. It was about future. So how do you see yourself in 10, 15 years? But now I have a little picture of what you have been thinking. But if you want to explain to
He's
us.
thinking what he's gonna do in the next 10-15 minutes.
Okay. Okay. I think that right now, because I can change my mind, because right now I want to stay in academia, work with the students, and if possible, like part-time, go to a private practice. And this is what I want to do for the next couple of years. And one important thing, I always check, I always talk to myself and see if I'm happy in doing what I'm doing. And sometimes you might not be happy, but you have to understand, I'm not happy because I really don't like what I'm doing, or I'm not happy just because something happened. If something happened, okay, we're gonna move forward, and you're gonna be in a good position. But if you realize you're not happy in what you were doing, for me, it's very easy to change my path. I've done that before, and I'm ready to do it again.
Yeah.
But do you feel insecure at some point if you don't make long-term plans?
Yes, yes, several times. actually, when I started dental school, I made like big plans for like 5, 10 years, and they didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what am I going to do? I'm going to make another plan, or, or I'm going to understand that, I have to go step by step. And, I finished doing like making big plans when I was in my PhD, because I realized that I've become frustrated. Plans for my future are, be happy and do what I like. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't mind if I realize that dentistry is not for me anymore. I don't mind to do something else.
How about
Maybe
going
start a podcast.
flying school again?
Or open a coffee shop.
That
Who
would be
knows?
great. So talking about coffee and Brazil, and I know that you have had and have a significant contribution in your community as well. Can you talk about your experience with the Amazon forest project and what got you involved?
Yes. First of all, when I'm very blessed as also because I have a good family, great family, and they supported me in every decision in every way. So when I started dental school, I went to a private school that was expensive at the time, and my parents like could afford it, and I was just needed to study. That's it.
Mm.
So then I decide I have to give that back to someone. So the only thing I know, like the first thing I have to decide, so what I know, what I can do to help someone else. So then I was like looking for something to give back to society and to my community. And then I met a group of guys that they went to the Amazon rainforest to provide dental care and medical care to the population that live at the edge of the river, like Big River, Madeira River.
Are they the
And
isolated
they
population?
are, they are
Okay.
a lot of small communities. So then I talked to them, and they said, we went to the Amazon last year in July. So we spent the whole month of July. So do you want to join us as a student? Because we go with a group of students and a group of faculties as well. So I joined the group, and when I was a second year of dental school. And after this amateur thing, it became like a big NGO. And then I went to the Amazon for 11 years. For 11 years, I spent the whole month of July in the middle of the Amazon.
Oh, wow.
We did even like a hospital boat to provide healthcare to the population, isolated population. We worked with the government to change their policies and their healthcare in the state. So we met a lot of good people. And when I moved to United States, of course I had to quit this NGO. But it's still going on. It's still going on. A lot of people. Every year we bring about 40 people to the middle of the Amazon to provide healthcare, education, and help the producers in the middle of the Amazon forest.
Nice.
And when I moved to United States, I tried to find something to help also the community. And I started to supervise students in a clinic called Shack Clinic. It provides free dental care for people in need. And when I was in North Carolina.
Thank you, Dr. Herrera, for being here. I loved our conversations. I learned so much from you. Honestly, the things about setting the realistic expectations, the short-term goal and the long-term goal, the value of mentorship, the value of community contributions. Thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate your time. And hopefully we'll continue this talk some other time as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Herrera.
And thank you guys very much. And it was a pleasure to talk to you both. And hopefully we're going to go back to work.
Hopefully.
Right?